This happened on Christmas Day 2 years ago, and so every December since then, it plays in my head like a movie I never asked to be in. I was 17 that year, living with my parents in a nice little subdivision Oregon. That Christmas was picture perfect. Fresh snow, blue sky in the morning, and that soft pink glow as the sun went down. Inside, though, it was chaos. My family goes huge for Christmas. I'm talking about cousins, aunts, uncles, grandparents. Everybody stuffed into our house like clowns in a car. Kids running around with frosting on their faces. My grandma yelling at my uncle about putting too much salt in the gravy. And random Christmas movies playing in the background with the volume too low to actually hear. I'm the emo antisocial one in the family, so most of the day I just floated around the edges. I helped put food out, faked laugh at small talk, and hid in the kitchen whenever I could. That's where I was when I first saw him. My cousin Jenna walked in with a guy nobody had ever seen before. She was glowing in a way that girls get when they bring a new boyfriend around. He was older, mid-30s easily. Too old for her in my opinion. He had this short beard, slicked hair, and a Christmas sweater that would have looked normal on anyone else but looked like a costume on him. The first thing I noticed was his eyes. He didn't scan the room like a normal person does. He locked onto me. I was just standing there by the counter, slicing store-bought pumpkin pie, and felt his gaze hit me like a spotlight. It wasn't a curious look. It wasn't even a, "Oh, who's that?" It felt like I was being sized up. I looked away, busying myself with my plate. "This is Dave," Jenna said, dragging him over to my mom. We've been dating for a couple of months. My mom did her usual thing. Hug, smile, "Nice to meet you. Welcome to the madhouse." Everybody laughed. He laughed too, but it sounded off, like he'd practiced it. I kept my head down, but every time I glanced up, he was watching me. Later, when everybody was in the living room, opening gifts, I sat on the floor by the far wall, half behind the tree, scrolling through my phone with my headphones on, but no music playing. I saw him move through the room, talking to different people, laughing and shaking hands. But he circled back to me, over and over. He'd stand just close enough that I knew he was there. Then he'd lean down, pretend to be interested in something near me, and start a conversation. "So, you're Jenna's cousin?" he asked at one point, kneeling next to me like we were buddies. I could smell cheap cologne and something sour underneath it. "Yeah," I said. "You look different from the rest of them," he said, eyes drifting over my clothes, my hair and my face. "In a good way. I like your style." Yup, I knew he was a creep all along. This is why I don't care when people judge me for always trusting my gut. I didn't answer. I moved to sit with my younger cousins instead, pretending to help them open toys, but he followed. Every time I relocated, to the kitchen, to the hallway, to the dining room, he'd appear a few minutes later. He kept trying to joke with me, calling me mysterious and other weird corny things, asking me if I had a boyfriend, what kind of music I liked, and if I ever snuck out at night. Stuff that might sound normal if somebody your own age said it, but straight up wrong coming from a guy pushing 40. The final straw was when everybody was grabbing dessert and I was alone in the hallway for a second, picking tape off my fingers from wrapping paper. He stepped in front of me, blocking the way, and smiled. "You know, you're going to be trouble when you're older," he said, eyes never leaving my face. "If you're not already." My stomach flipped. My mind instantly went to WTF. "I'm already older," I said, "and I'm not interested." He laughed quietly and leaned a little closer. "I didn't say you had to be interested to have fun." That's when I snapped out of my usual just ignore people mode. "If you don't back off," I said, looking him right in the eyes, "I'm telling my parents that you're creeping on me." For a second, his smile dropped, just gone. His eyes changed, like he was angry I'd said it out loud. Then he smirked and stepped back. "Relax," he said. "I'm just joking around, don't be so serious." After that, he mostly left me alone. He still stared sometimes, but he didn't corner me again. I told myself not to make it a bigger deal than it had to be. My cousin looked happy, the adults were laughing, and kids were running around showing off their new toys. I decided not to tell my parents. It was late, everybody was full and tired, and I didn't want to start some big family fight on Christmas. I brushed it off the way I always do. People started leaving around 9. There were hugs and drive safe and see you next year at the door. I watched from the stairs as Jenna and Dave left. He glanced up once, met my eyes, and gave me a little two-finger wave, but I pretended not to see it. By 10:30, the house was quiet. My parents were cleaning up the kitchen, and I went upstairs to my room. Snow was still falling outside, thick and slow, and I was just thankful it was all over. My window faced the street, and the view honestly looked like something from a movie. I put on my headphones and put on some 3 Days Grace and flopped on my bed with a book I probably wasn't actually going to read. I turned the volume up, letting the music drown out the last thoughts and drama of family noise I had going through my head. That's why I wasn't sure at first if I actually heard it. A small tap on the glass behind my head. I paused the song, lay there listening. My heart picked up a little, but I told myself it was probably just a tree branch or something shifting in the wind. I turned the music back on. Maybe 5 minutes later, I heard it again. It was slightly louder, though. I sat up this time. My bed is pushed right up against the window, so the glass is basically the headboard. I turned around and looked at the window. It was fogged over from the difference between the warm air inside and the freezing air outside. Couldn't see anything except the fuzzy glow of one of the nearby streetlights. Probably nothing, I said to myself, even though I knew houses don't knock 3 times in a row. I'll admit I was freaked out, deep down, but I just wanted so badly to be overreacting that I eventually believed it. I slid off the bed and stood up, leaning closer. I wiped a circle in the condensation with the sleeve of my hoodie. First, all I could see was the street covered in snow. The sidewalks, the rows of houses across from ours, lights off except a few porch lights. Then I saw him. A figure standing on the sidewalk, down the street a little bit. He had a dark jacket on, jeans, and a posture slouched slightly, like he'd been standing there for a while. He was facing my house. His head was angled upward toward my window. Even from that distance, even in the dark, I recognized the outline. Dave. I dropped my sleeve from the glass like it was hot and stumbled backward. Heart pounding so hard I thought it would beat out of my chest. I grabbed the blinds and yanked them shut, then shut off my lamp so the room went dark. I stood there for a minute, pressed against the wall, listening. I considered going downstairs and telling my parents right then, but some stubborn part of me said, what if you're overreacting? What if it's not even him? The idea of explaining, hey, that guy who creeped me out earlier is standing on our street, felt insane. So I watched. For the next 20 or 30 minutes, I sneaked to the edge of the blinds, lift one slat and peek out. Most times I saw nothing but swirling snow. Sometimes I thought I saw movement, but it was probably just flakes catching the light. Eventually, the sidewalk looked empty. The panic dulled the nervous energy. I told myself he'd left, that it really was just my imagination or some random neighbor walking their dog earlier. Who knows? I went back to my bed, turned on my lamp again, and tried to actually read my book. Headphones sat around my neck, music off this time. I think it was close to midnight when it happened. A sudden violent bang against the window right above my head. The glass rattled, and the sound was so loud and so close that I screamed without even meaning to. It wasn't a tap this time. It was both hands slamming into the glass. Hey, a muffled voice called through the window, way too close. Open up. I scrambled off the bed, my legs almost giving out, and bolted for the door. I didn't even stop to look. I didn't want to see his face that close on the other side of the glass. My whole body was shaking as I yanked my bedroom door open and sprinted down the hall. I ran out of my room and started yelling, Dad. My voice cracking. Somebody's at my window. My dad came out of his room at the same time my mom did, both of them half asleep and confused. The look on my face must have told them that this wasn't a joke. My dad didn't ask more than, where? And I just pointed toward my room. Stay with your mom, he said, already heading down the stairs. I watched from the top as he went to the gun safe in the hallway closet, punched in the code with shaking fingers, and grabbed his handgun and a flashlight. He didn't even bother with the coat, just his pajama pants and a t-shirt. He went out the back door instead of the front, probably hoping to catch whoever it was off guard. My mom had her phone out, hands trembling as she dialed 911. I stood by the upstairs window in the hallway, peeking through the blinds that looked out over the backyard. The world outside was white and dark and silent. Then my dad's flashlight beam cut across the yard. It landed on a figure standing a few feet from my bedroom window. Dave. He was just standing there. No hat, no gloves, breath fogging in the air. When the light hit him, he squinted and lifted a hand like the brightness annoyed him more than being caught did. What the hell are you doing here? My dad shouted. Even through the glass, I heard Dave's answer. I'm sorry, man, he said, like he'd misplaced a phone, not stalked a teenage girl. I don't know, I needed to talk to her. My dad moved closer, gun pointed down but ready. Talk to my daughter, at midnight, at her bedroom window. Dave laughed softly, that same fake laugh from earlier in the day. She's special. I love her, and I want to marry her. You can sign for it, right? Parent consent, that's all it takes. My mom gasped beside me, hand flying to her mouth. My dad snapped. Get on the ground. You absolute psycho, he yelled. Now. Dave shook his head like my dad was being unreasonable. You don't understand. She gets it. My dad lunged. The flashlight beam jerked wildly as he tackled Dave into the snow. I lost sight of them for a second and just heard grunts and the crunch of boots and his knees digging into the frozen ground. Then the light settled and I could see my dad on top of him, pinning his arms behind his back with his knee. Call the cops, he shouted, though my mom already was. The next few minutes felt like an hour. My dad stayed on him, not letting him move, barking at him to shut up every time he tried to talk. I caught pieces of what Dave said, stuff about meant to be and she's different and Christmas miracle. It made my skin crawl. When the police finally pulled up, lights flashing blue and red across the snow, my legs almost gave out from relief. 2 officers ran into the yard, shouting commands. My dad got off him slowly, hands raised, explaining who he was. They cuffed Dave, patted him down, and pulled stuff from his pockets. I watched from the window as they set things on the hood of the patrol car. Little plastic baggies, condoms, more than one knife, a stack of IDs with different names and pictures. One of the officers noticed me staring from the window and gave me a quick serious nod, the kind of nod that said, you did the right thing. Dave was trespassed from our property and taken away that night. We gave statements until almost 3 in the morning. I heard bits and pieces later. Meth, fake IDs, warrants, but I never found out the full story of what happened to him in court. What I do know is this. If he waited until my parents went to sleep, if I'd opened the window even an inch, if I'd kept second-guessing myself instead of screaming and running for my dad, this might be a completely different story. And yes, for those wondering, my cousin broke up with him immediately and cut off all contact.